Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Sacha Welsh, founder of Welsh Wellness, as well as a certified health coach specializing in preconception, pregnancy, and postpartum health. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about something very personal. It's a vulnerable story of my own and what I went through personally in my postpartum journey after my second Victoria was born. So honestly, the reason why I wanted to do a whole video on this is because it is one of those topics that's got a lot of stigma to it. However, it's very common and a lot of moms go through this and it needs to be talked about and shared more because there are lots of moms that go through it and feel totally alone. I felt totally alone when it first started happening to me, and then once I started talking about it, I realized I was nowhere near alone, and I instantly felt better while I was coping through the repercussions of this little journey that I went on. So I want to talk about it with you guys today so I can show you that it's not impossible to talk about, and it is part of the postpartum recovery journey for most, not if all moms in some way or fashion. And let's just get to it. Okay, so where do I even start? Well, let me just start here. With my firstborn, Whitney, I had honestly probably the smoothest and breeziest pregnancy and postpartum. It was so smooth that I kind of just expected, I guess, all my pregnancies to go that way. I don't know why, even though I knew that every pregnancy could be different. I just thought I had it under control. Let's just put it that way. So when I was pregnant with my second, Victoria, who we call Tori, I only make the connection now that during my pregnancy, I experienced a lot of anxiety that I totally didn't experience at all in my first pregnancy. My husband travels a lot for work, and so I was having a lot of anxiety taking care of my toddler while being in my third trimester. I got sick a lot because I was in my third trimester in the winter, and there was just a ton of anxiety around that. And because my husband was traveling a ton, I was so anxious that I was going to go into labor while he was gone and that I'd be doing it all by myself. And I'm only making that connection now. I did not make that connection at all before, but prepartum anxiety is one of the first signs of postpartum anxiety or depression. And that's definitely what I experienced, but I did not make that connection until well over a year after my baby was born. So anyways, I had my baby. I unfortunately suffered through a postpartum hemorrhage after she was born, which totally, I think, linked to the whole postpartum anxiety. Like, I just had a bit of PTSD, I think, around it, which started right away. Like, I remember we got discharged, came home from the hospital, and I was anxious pretty much all the time. Leave comments below, by the way, if you want me to talk about my postpartum hemorrhage journey. There's lots you can do to try to avoid a hemorrhage and how you can cope through a hemorrhage and all the mental health around hemorrhages and all that sort of thing. So let me know if you want me to talk about that. But anyways, to go back to my postpartum anxiety. So in the beginning, after she was born, I experienced a lot of anxiety in those first few weeks. And I think I was just sort of mistaking it for the baby blues or just handling two kids and all those sorts of things. And then at 2 months postpartum, I had pretty bad anxiety only on the highway. I could not drive on the highway or freeway at all because I would literally have a panic attack. I would have to pull over, take deep breaths, or pull over and go into a bathroom to let things out that were just causing a ton of upset in my stomach. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I know this is hormonal. A lot of menopausal women go through this. They can't drive on highways. And I knew it was a hormonal thing, but I still didn't make the connection to it being postpartum anxiety. So that was happening, and then it went away. About, I think, 4 months postpartum, my anxiety on the highway went away, and I just felt like everything was handling much better. I don't know why, but I just did. I still had, some anxieties around managing two kids by myself because my husband not only travels a lot, but he works late as well. He's in a very busy career. And so there was just regular anxiety around that. And I sort of got through it. It was nothing to the point where I was having any attacks like I was when I was driving on the highway. So I just sort of rolled with it. And then I got my period back at 7.5 months postpartum after my second was born, and it all went super downhill after that. I just remember getting my first anxiety attack and I didn't know what it was. I distinctly remember when it happened. I thought I was getting the stomach bug, like my insides were turning and twisting. It felt like someone was doing this to my intestines. It was painful and I thought I was going to throw up, and I was just like, I have a stomach bug. And I messaged my husband. I said, I'm going to need you to come home early from work because at that time I was still on maternity leave and the baby was home with me. And I was like, I don't think I can take care of her with a stomach bug, so come home early if you can. And he was like, no problem. I'll be home right after my call, which was sometime in the morning, and he was on his way home. And so I laid down. The baby thankfully went down for a nap, and I laid down and I was literally breathing like I was in labor, like, and I just was in so much pain. And I was like, am I going to throw up or what? Like, what's happening? And then it just went away, just trickled off and went away. And so my husband came home and I was like, I'm feeling better. Like, it just went away. I guess it wasn't the stomach bug. And he was like, okay, that's weird. Well, anyways, I'll just work from home. And so that was the first one. And then I remember, I don't distinctly remember at this point because this was so long ago. My Tori is now 21 months old, so I don't remember every little thing, but I just remember having those attacks here and there. Like my stomach would hurt or I would feel dizzy. I do remember one time I was brushing my older one's hair, getting her ready for school, and it was first thing in the morning, and I just brushed her hair, and then I felt sick to my stomach. Like, I got really lightheaded and I felt dizzy, like I thought I was going to drop on the floor. And then that was a spiral effect. I was like, oh my gosh, if I drop on the floor and I've got 2 kids home alone with me, what's going to happen? So that did not help. And I had to sit down, and then I've got like, my 2-year-old and my baby needing me. And I was on the couch like this and then just walking myself through it. And then I realized I cannot drive my daughter to school. So I messaged my neighbor and asked her to take the reins and take my daughter to preschool. And I called the preschool and said, my neighbor will be dropping her off. And that was another attack. But again, I didn't realize it was an attack. I thought I was just going through some weird things, and I never had any mental health issues in the past, so I just didn't know what it felt like. I didn't make the connection at all. I'm educated in this field, but you don't know until you've experienced it. So anyways, it started happening more and more often. Like, these attacks were starting to happen 3 times a week, and I was just getting anxious all the time. And I'm noticing my triggers were always when my husband either left for work or left to go away. If I didn't eat a proper meal, I would get some sort of panic anxiety attack. There were some triggers I was noticing because being in my field of preconception, pregnancy, and postpartum health, I sort of knew what to have in the back of my head. And so I was like, I always feel this way after my husband leaves for work, or after he goes away, or when I don't eat well. So I was making those connections. And then I'm part of a lot of these Facebook mom groups. And there was somebody who posted in a mom group one day and was like, I've been having a lot of these thoughts. And she started listing all the thoughts she was having. A lot of it was like, what if I died? What if my mom died? What if this happened? What if this happened? And I was reading her list and was just like, I have literally had all these thoughts. Plus, I was also having anxiety attacks. And then a bunch of moms commented and they were like, postpartum anxiety, postpartum anxiety. I've been there. It's postpartum anxiety. Go see your doctor. Postpartum anxiety. And I was like, that's it. I have postpartum anxiety. So after reading that, I made the connection and I was like, that's what I've got. I've got it. I've been educated in this, and I didn't even see the signs myself. Like, after being in this field, I didn't even know. It's just one of those weird things. Like, you sort of know what to look out for, but you don't know what it feels like until you experience it. So after that, I was like, 100%, that's what's happened to me. And so my husband came home from work that night, and I just laid it out to him. I put the kids to bed and I said, look, babe, I want to talk to you about this way I've been feeling. And then I just laid it all out. I was like, I think I have postpartum anxiety. Here are the reasons why. I've been having a lot of attacks. Remember all those times I told you I thought I was getting the stomach bug and then it went away? Those are signs and symptoms of postpartum anxiety. And I just laid it all out for him. He listened. He was amazing. He was so supportive and just sat there, let me get it all out. And then he calmed me down and was like, good for you for coming to these terms. And I told him, I said, I want to make an appointment with my doctor soon. And he was like, I think that's a great idea. He was just honestly so supportive. Thank goodness he didn't make the situation any more stressful than it needed to be. And honestly, after talking to him, I felt so much better. I just like got it off my chest. It's like what they say when you're going through any rehab or something like that. The first step is admitting it. And I literally felt so much better after saying it out loud. Like, I think I have postpartum anxiety. And I felt better. I remember going to bed that night and I was like, babe, I feel so much better after talking to you. Like, I just literally laid it all out on the table of everything that was bothering me and what was triggering my anxieties and was causing my anxieties. And that was that. So I started telling him that I will take some natural remedies to help calm myself, like exercising outside, taking more baths, taking more self-care, doing all those things. And so literally the very next morning, I had another attack. I woke up and I felt great. I woke up and I was like, I'm going to work out today because I know that's something I probably need to do with my anxiety. That should make me feel better. I want to go the natural route, being a health coach. And so my husband left for work early and I woke up early before the girls were up. My husband always leaves before the girls are awake, but I woke up when he was up and I was working out, and he left and I was still working out. And then I came upstairs getting ready to take my shower and I had a major panic attack. I started feeling super lightheaded, sick to my stomach. And it was so bad that I literally thought I was going to die. In that moment, I was like, I'm going to die. I've got 2 kids sleeping. My husband's left for work and I'm about to die. That's how bad it was. And I remember I went downstairs, opened up the door. This is the middle of winter, by the way. I went downstairs, opened the door, and just took one major deep breath of fresh air and breathed out. Another deep breath of fresh air and breathed out. And I kept doing that until my anxiety went down. And then I said, that's it. I'm making a doctor's appointment. I can't do this naturally. It's progressing too fast. It was starting to go from 3 times a week of panic attacks to 4 times a week. It was just trending to being daily. And I know that's how you quickly escalate to postpartum depression. And I did not want to get there. I knew it wasn't depression yet, but it was trending that way. And so I was like, I'm making an appointment with my doctor. I think honestly, my best remedy might have to be medication. I am a health coach. I want to always go the natural route, but that's not always the case. And it took me a while to come to that term. But when I started having the attack of the fact that I thought I was about to die, I knew I had to make a serious change. And so that's what I did. I called my doctor. I made the appointment. I talked to her and she said, what can I help you with? And I said, I think I have postpartum anxiety. Here's why. I laid it all out, and she's a mom as well. And she totally understood. And she was like, good for you for coming to these terms. We're happy to look at some medications. And so we talked about medications. And I also, one thing I forgot to mention, I had messaged another mom friend of mine who had a baby born just 10 days after Victoria was born, after my second was born. And so I asked her, I just flat out asked her if she had experienced any anxiety, because I wanted to sort of come to terms with the fact that I wasn't alone. And she was like, I'm in anxiety right now. I'm on meds and I've been experiencing it since pregnancy and I feel so much better on the meds, and et cetera, et cetera. So I had a long conversation with her about that, a really long one. And so I sort of had that in the back of my head. I wanted to go the natural route, but it wasn't enough for me. And so I went to my doctor, got on some antidepressants, and felt like myself again in no time. So I just wanted to say that because although you may not want to go that route of medications and, you know, the health world, the world that I'm in, we all kind of like look at medication like it's a no-no. And in most cases, you don't have to go the medication route depending on what your illness is. But for this case, for me, it's a completely individualized approach, and the natural remedies were not enough. I think my chemical imbalance was too strong. It was progressing way too fast, and the antidepressants really, really made a huge difference. I felt like myself again in just like a few days, and I was on it for probably 6 more months. So also being in my field and being a postpartum health specialist for natural remedies, I knew I needed to wean myself off the medication soon after I was done breastfeeding. I always had a goal of to finish breastfeeding at 12 months old because I wanted to get back into work. And so that's what I did. When she was 12 months, I started slowly cutting back my medication. I told my doctor this. I talked to her about it. She urged me to wait until the winter time was over. So that was around 13 months postpartum. And so that's what I did. I went from 1 full pill a day to half a pill a day. And then a few weeks after doing that, I went to 4 or 3 times a week of taking half a pill. And then I just kept slowly weaning it off. It was a 2-month process of fully weaning off. And while I was doing that weaning of the pill. I was also taking a supplement of maca powder, which I've talked about a lot to my preconception clients, but I took it as well because I know the benefits of hormonal imbalance it gives. And so I wanted to do other things to help balance my hormones. So I was taking maca powder, I was weaning myself off the antidepressants, and I was just doing all the other things. Lots and lots of self-care. I was taking babysitting nights and going out with my girlfriends, going out on dates with my husband, getting outside as much as possible. I was doing all the natural remedies, maca powder, and weaning myself off the antidepressants. And I can happily say that my daughter is now 21 months old. She was maybe 15 months old when I was fully weaned off the medication, and I have not had a single spout of anxiety again since, and I totally feel like myself again. My confidence is back. I literally feel like I felt like I was pre-pregnancy. It's been an amazing journey since the depressants have been weaned out of my system. Antidepressants have been weaned out of my system. So I just want to say that medication is not always a bad thing. You may not have to go that route, and you don't have to go that route if you really don't want to. But if it's going to be the best thing for your mental health, go for it, girl. Don't be afraid. Please don't be ashamed to talk to anyone about it. Don't be ashamed to talk to your spouse, your mother, anybody. Just talk to someone about it. Make a doctor's appointment. Just get it out there. Go on the meds if you feel like you need to. Try the natural remedies first. See if that's enough for you. It wasn't enough for me, but it may be enough for you. We can talk. I have a lot of one-on-one clients in the postpartum phase that I help with mental health as well as other postpartum things like sleep deprivation, diet, lifestyle, lots of things that we talk about, but you can talk to me and we can set up an appointment. But I just really want to reiterate that you are not alone and that this is a common thing. Our hormones are wild. They're wild. There's so many things that our hormones can do, and there's a lot of effects we get when they're imbalanced, including anxiety and depression. And honestly, I just want you to know that I've been there. I'm in this field and I've been there. As a health coach, I've been there, and that's really, really hard to come to terms with. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you are. These things can affect anybody. If you have hormones, it will affect anybody. So I just wanted to sort of end it with that. Again, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. I talk about lots of preconception, pregnancy, and postpartum health tips. I will share my journeys along with these topics as well. If there is interest in that, leave some comments below if you want me to talk about my postpartum hemorrhage experience. But otherwise, like this video if you like it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and click that notifications bell so that you are notified when I post new videos. But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening to my story, and I will see you next time. Have a great one, everybody.